Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 51 based on novel. So let's start. Within the world filled with the glow of lightning, 100,000 feet large thunderbolt tore through the sky like a lightning dragon. It seemed to contain the power that could destroy the world as it ruthlessly descended, before striking the thin figure seated in the air. Lightning glow seemed to fill the sky as it spread in all directions, while countless arcs of lightning seemed to pour down like swimming snakes and thunder boomed continuously. However, that skinny figure was as still as a statue in the face of this terrifying bombardment. His body was like a boulder that had taken root in the air. No external force was able to move him at all. Lindorm's body was currently extremely shriveled. Silver light surfaced on his skin, causing him to appear like those silver corpses in the lightning cave dwelling. Fortunately, there was still a faint trace of life in his body. Lightning arcs leaped on the surface of Lindorm's body and constantly shuttled in and out of the pores all over his body. His originally black hair had turned silver from bathing under the lightning glow. The current Lindorm was in an unusual unconscious state. He could clearly sense that his physical body was about to fall apart. However, he relied on his willpower to forcefully maintain his physical body at the boundary between being destroyed and maintaining its integrity. As he maintained his body within this boundary, a somewhat mysterious change seemed to be quietly brewing. If one could peer into Lindorm's body, one would discover that his body was covered in countless silver lightning patterns. These lightning patterns covered every bone and muscle within his body. At a glance, it appeared like a fine lightning net that tightly connected Lindorm's body together. Each time lightning struck Lindorm's body, this lightning net would become a little brighter. On the whole, some strange changes seemed to be gradually happening to Lindorm as he continued to be blasted by several hundreds and thousands of thunderbolts. Moreover, this strange change seemed to be stealthily intensifying following the flow of time. The concept of time was extremely vague to the unconscious Lindorm within this thunder world. He did not know how long he had remained in this state. At times it seemed like a year, while at other times it might be 10. Lindorm's mind drifted within this unconsciousness state, however, he firmly retained his will. This was because he was clearly aware that if this will was destroyed by the lightning, there would truly be no hope left for him. There were still many things that he needed to do. He needed to become stronger and return to the Eastern Xian region. He needed to tell that girl, who appeared cool and proud on the surface while a tender heart lay beneath, that he would sooner or later become strong enough that she would have to look up to him. He needed to tell that lively as a pixie-like girl that he would protect her innocent and worry-free smile. He needed to tell that girl, whose heart ached as he tried his best alone, that his shoulders were able to support everything for her. Hence, he could not die. A furious roar that was filled with unwillingness suddenly resounded from deep within Lindorm's soul. His blurry consciousness braced itself as a trace of sunlight shot through the layers of black clouds and shone onto his murky mind. Lindorm's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened at this moment. Bright lightning light shot out from within his eyes as a thunderous roar suddenly resounded. 99,999. Lindorm suddenly lifted his head with the return of his consciousness. Those eyes contained a lightning glow as they looked at the lightning-filled sky. He roared, "Descend, final thunderbolt!" Rumble. Countless thunderbolts slowly wiggled in the distant sky as if in reply to Lindorm's roar. Finally, a huge hundreds of thousand feet large thunderbolt began to agglomerate. Roar? A deafening dragon-like roar suddenly sounded. One could only watch as the huge thunderbolt in the sky transformed into a lightning dragon that was hundreds of thousand feet in size. The lightning dragon's huge body was entrenched in the air. Those enormous lightning eyes flickered with lightning as it stared at Lindorm below. This sight was sufficient to shock one to the point of feeling a chill within one's heart. However, Lindorm was without fear as his gaze met the lightning dragon's. Moments later, the corners of his mouth lifted as a crazy smile appeared. Soon after, he slowly extended both of his hands as though he was welcoming the lightning's final fury. Bang! The lightning dragon appeared to have sensed Lindorm's provocation. Lightning danced crazily over its huge body before it suddenly descended. Boom boom boom. The lightning dragon whistled downwards. This world seemed to tremble as its body shot out. Its momentum seemed to be able to destroy the world. Lindong extended his hand as the smile on his lips grew even crazier. The enormous lightning dragon was accompanied by a huge shadow. In the end, it ruthlessly smashed onto the defenseless body of Lindong like a falling meteorite. Boom! A deep sound echoed in the sky. Lindong's body was practically shattered at the instant of collision. Foamy blood spread and not even bones remained. The lightning dragon whistled past. Only when it made contact with the land did the dragon roar finally fade. As it returned to the land, a cluster of bloody mist slowly drifted behind it. The bloody mist quietly drifted in the sky. This state lasted for an unknowingly long time. Suddenly a lightning glow flashed and appeared within the bloody mist as many densely packed lightning arcs appeared before swiftly spreading. At the same time, the bloody mist began to shrink. Finally, it completely entered the silhouette that the lightning patterns had formed. Blood and flesh gathered in a mysterious fashion. At the end, silver light flashed and an almost perfect body directly rose from the flickering lightning. The appearance of this figure was exactly the same as Lindong. However, there was a kind aura that was difficult to describe being quietly emitted. It felt as though one was facing the divine might of lightning. Lindong lowered his head. He looked at this physical body which was created from experiencing 100,000 thunderbolts. Initially, a dazed look flashed across his eyes. Soon after, however, both of his palms were slowly clenched. Bang bang! Lindong clenched his fist as a terrifying power immediately whistled out from Lindong's limbs like ferocious prehistoric beasts. This strength was even more ferocious and overbearing than before. It felt as though it was limitless. Lindong lifted his head and looked at the thunderbolts whistling across the sky. At this moment, he no longer felt the slightest fear towards these thunderbolts that contained wild and violent energy. Instead, he felt a strange intimacy towards them. A lightning glow flickered within Lindong's eyes. He slowly extended his hand and grabbed at the thunderbolt that had fallen in front of him. The thunderbolt did not cause him any harm when it came into contact with Lindong's hand. The originally proud and untamable energy appeared as gentle as sheep as it quietly swirled in his hand. Lindong watched the quietly swirling thunderbolt on his palm as a smile emerged from the corners of his mouth. After which, he looked at the lightning-covered sky. The lightning in the sky rippled. Soon after, it turned into a huge maelstrom of thunderbolts. A bolt of lightning shot down from the middle of the maelstrom. At its center was an ancient symbol. It descended and finally appeared in front of Lindong. Lindong gazed at the ancient lightning symbol that had appeared before him. He could no longer hide the wild joy and excitement in his eyes. An extremely happy and hearty laughter resounded across this world along with thunder. Because he knew, after experiencing 100,000 thunderbolts that led to the creation of the lightning body, he had now finally obtained the acknowledgement of the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. The ancient lightning symbol flickered with lightning as it silently hovered in front of Lindong. Even with the latter's usual calm, his body had involuntarily trembled from excitement as he looked at the thunderbolt ancestral symbol in close proximity. Although he was excited, Lindong did not reach out his hand. This was because he knew that obtaining the acknowledgement of the thunderbolt ancestral symbol did not mean that he had succeeded. There was still the devouring ancestral symbol within his body. If the thunderbolt ancestral symbol was absorbed into his body, the power of the two ancestral symbols would definitely reject each other. The result of this mutual rejection was something that Lindong would not be able to endure no matter how powerful his physical body had now become. Yang. Lindong could only look upon this thunderbolt ancestral symbol which was just a grasp away. After which, he cried out within his mind. It was likely that he was clearly aware that the coexistence of the two ancestral symbols involved some risk. Oh, you have obtained its acknowledgement. What a lucky fellow. Yang's lazy voice was once again emitted. This voice caused Lindong to grind his teeth a little. What should I do now? The power of the ancestral symbol is exceptionally overbearing. If an ordinary person was to obtain just one of them, he would possess an extremely powerful strength. It is naturally impossible to have a second one. Yang said. Of course, if you are able to reach the strength of my owner, the symbol ancestor, it will not be difficult for you to simultaneously wield all 8 ancestral symbols. Lin Dong could not help but laugh bitterly upon hearing this. Only one symbol ancestor had appeared since ancient times. How could he compare with the latter? You are lucky to have obtained the devouring ancestral symbol first. Devouring power is considered the greatest accommodating power amongst the 8 great ancestral symbols. Although there is still substantial risk in attempting to accommodate the thunderbolt ancestral symbol, it is fortunate that you are also in possession of the ancestral stone. Ancestral stone? Lin Dong was startled. He quickly asked in surprise, does the ancestral stone also have such a function? The reason for my creation back then was to create balance between the powers of the 8 great ancestral symbols. Yang's faint voice contained a pride that could not be hidden. Although I have yet to recover all of my power, there is only the devouring ancestral symbol and the thunderbolt ancestral symbol inside your body. It should not be impossible to maintain a balance between them. Lin Dong's eyes revealed some joy after he heard these words. Allow your mind to sink into your Niwen Palace. After which, accept the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. We will act together to maintain the equilibrium between these 2 great ancestral symbols. Additionally, your mental energy, which has not progressed much previously, can also use this opportunity to grow. The joy within Lin Dong's eyes became even denser. My mental energy can also be strengthened. The cultivation of Lin Dong's mental energy was quite strange. Although even little Martin had nothing but praise for his mental energy talent, it seemed to have entered a bottleneck after the huge leap back then, hence it had been difficult for him to have another breakthrough. This caused Lin Dong to feel a little awkward. After all, he already possessed the strength of an advanced profound life stage expert. However, his mental energy was still at the heavenly symbol master level. That was merely equivalent to the nirvana stage. The reason that your mental energy has not progressed is because it is supporting the devouring ancestral symbol. However, it does not simply devour your mental energy without remuneration. It is more akin to a kind of accumulation. Once the time is ripe, it will return all of it to you. Furthermore, the returned mental energy will be even more powerful. I understand. Lin Dong ceased hesitating as he nodded his head. His body sat in the air as both he tightly shut his eyes. Soon after, light scattered from his brow while the thunderbolt ancestral symbol floating in front of him also turned into a lightning glow that charged into his head. Lin Dong quickly followed as the thunderbolt ancestral symbol entered his Niwen Palace. The interior of his Niwen Palace was like its own small world. Majestic mental energy rippled within it while a black hole quietly floated at its center. It continuously devoured all the mental energy that filled the place as it rotated. A lightning glow suddenly broke the peace of this small world. It was just like a falling lightning star that had barbarically charged into this tiny world. In the end, it slowly stabilized itself in the sky. Boom! Thunderbolts appeared as this thunderbolt ancestral symbol entered the small world. Lightning spread across the sky in an attempt to dominate everything in an overbearing fashion. The overbearing manner of the thunderbolt ancestral symbol was naturally unacceptable to the devouring ancestral symbol. Immediately, the black hole rotated as black light swept out in all directions. 2 enormous powers interweaved in the sky. Quickly after, wild and violent energy fluctuations spread. The entire place seemed to have been turned upside down by the power of these 2 forces. Lin Dong was speechless as he observed this mess. He was finally aware of why Mo Luo had objected to him wanting to refine the thunderbolt ancestral symbol while being in possession of the devouring ancestral symbol. Yang, do it. Lin Dong helplessly said. If these 2 big fellows were to continue on like this, his Niwen Palace would be forcefully shattered. I? Yang's voice sounded within Lin Dong's mind. Soon after, a gentle white light unfurled in the small world. After which, the ancestral stone appeared between the 2 great ancestral symbols. Seal of equilibrium. Yang's body had also appeared from within the ancestral stone. Both of his hands formed a seal. A low roar resounded. After Yang's cry was emitted, it was possible to see two threads of white light suddenly rush out from his palm. One connected to the devouring ancestral symbol while the other connected to the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. An extremely complicated and obscure light seal slowly formed where the two threads of light intersected. The light seal looked like a scale as it gently swung. However, it ultimately reached an equilibrium. The two ends of the equilibrium seemed to be the thunderbolt ancestral symbol and the devouring ancestral symbol. Unique fluctuations traveled along the threads of light and finally poured into the two great ancestral symbols. Soon after, the ancestral symbols trembled as the two grappling powers in the sky began to slowly blend together. Lin Dong looked at the two powers in the sky which had finally ceased opposing each other. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Yang was indeed right. It did possess a magical power that could balance the powers of the ancestral symbols. Of course, Lin Dong could also sense that much of the credit belonged to the devouring ancestral symbol. If it was not because its energy possessed an accommodating aspect, even Yang would have great difficulty maintaining the two ancestral symbols at such a subtle equilibrium. After the two great ancestral symbols gradually calmed down, Lin Dong suddenly sensed that the devouring ancestral symbol had suddenly begun rotate even more rapidly. Wave after wave of majestic sea-like mental energy crazily surged out from within as it rotated. Boom! Vast mental energy surged into this small world as the size of this world immediately began to expand. Even lightning storms had begun to form. Lin Dong spread his hands as he watched this scene. He could sense that his mental energy was soaring at a shocking speed at this moment. The stagnant feeling from before had completely disappeared at this moment. Layer after layer of obstructions were easily broken like hot knife through butter under the majestic ocean-like mental energy. Rumble. The entire small world seemed to be welcoming a huge change at this moment. While Lin Dong's mental energy was soaring, extremely vigorous yuan power also began to surge within his body like floodwaters. There was an additional silver luster within his yuan power. Lightning flickered within his yuan power as it flowed, filling it with a tyrannical offensive strength. As yuan power whistled, astonishing fluctuations started to erupt from Lin Dong's body, making him appear similar to a recently awakened lion. Lin Dong silently sat in the empty space while majestic yuan power gathered around his body like a storm. Besides yuan power, mighty mental energy also rotated with a whistling sound. Lin Dong peacefully sat between the two energies as his aura began to climb little by little. In a world cackling with thunderbolts, Lin Dong sat in mid-air. The aura emitted from within his body was growing day by day. The rate in which he was improving was truly amazing. His aura continued to strengthen for 5 whole days. Only then did the majestic yuan power and mental energy lingering over him gradually display signs of weakening. Seated in mid-air, after the final trace of yuan power and mental energy entered Lin Dong's body, his eyes, which had been tightly shut for several days, abruptly opened. A brilliant glow flashed across his pitch-black pupils, before they quickly scattered into nothingness. Creak! Using his hands to push against the empty space, Lin Dong slowly stood up. After he stood up, there was actually a clear cracking sound being emitted from within his body. An extremely ferocious fluctuation accompanied those clear cracking sound. It was as if an ancient and ferocious beast was finally awakening from its slumber. Lin Dong detected the surging strength within his body before he involuntarily inhaled a deep breath. The corner of his mouth was also lifted into an arc. The sensation of being filled with power was something he had never experienced before. Currently, you should have stepped into the perfect profound life stage and you are only one step away from the profound death stage. Yang appeared, looked at Lin Dong and said, "Perfect profound life stage, huh?" Lin Dong clenched his hands tightly. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. It was clear that he was fairly pleased with the results of his training. Of course, your mental energy cultivation obtained the greatest improvement. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He did not do anything, but wild gales suddenly began to rage around him. Majestic mental energy swept out from his Niwen palace before they transformed into a mental energy storm beside him. The storm emitted shocking fluctuations and even a perfect profound life stage expert was unable to do anything about it. The peak of initial divine symbol master. Lin Dong smiled. His mental energy mastery had improved by a larger extent when compared to the previous time. Not only did he directly leap past Heaven Symbol Master, but he also stepped right into the peak of Initial Divine Symbol Master. The Divine Symbol Master level was divided into the initial and advanced stages. However, just these two stages alone were comparable to the profound life and death stages respectively. Normally, if one's mental energy reached the peak of the initial Divine Symbol Master, one would be comparable to a perfect profound life stage practitioner. If one stepped into the advanced Divine Symbol Master, it would be possible to fight against a profound death stage expert. The Divine Symbol Master called Xu Yun, whom Lin Dong met on the mysterious Spirit Island, had barely stepped into the Divine Symbol Master level. In other words, not only did Lin Dong reach the perfect profound life stage, his mental energy cultivation had also reached the peak of the initial Divine Symbol Master. Both of his powers were equally matched. By combining these two powers, Lin Dong was confident that no one in the profound life stage could match up to him. He was even able to fight head-on with an initial profound death stage expert. Moreover, my body has grown tougher once again. Lin Dong clenched his fist tightly. He could vaguely see several green dragon-like tattoos lingering under his skin. Based on a rough estimate, there were at least 50 glowing tattoos. Moreover, Lin Dong could feel that this was not his limit. Currently, there was a huge amount of energy still hidden deep within his body. Right now, Lin Dong felt as though his body was just like a fearsome prehistoric beast. The explosive strength within him seemed capable of destroying every obstacle in front of him. After enduring 100,000 thunderbolts, Lin Dong's physical body was strengthened. On the whole, his current strength was completely different from when he had first entered this place. The thunderbolt ancestral symbol was indeed a great item. Lin Dong parted his mouth and laughed. After all, the increase in his strength was the mere icing on the cake compared to obtaining the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. I should have spent around 2 months' time in this place. It is time to go. Lin Dong stretched his waist lazily. He was extremely relaxed as he calmly observed this thunder realm. A thought passed through his mind and a fluctuation was formed on the space beside him. His body also slowly disappeared after being wrapped by this fluctuation. Thunder World. The originally 10,000 feet large lightning sun had disappeared. Thunderbolts filled the interior of the Thunder World. However, it seemed like the energy within this Thunder World had turned a lot more chaotic. The space rippled and a human figure slowly appeared. Lin Dong looked around him and realized that the current Thunder World was empty. Moreover, the chaotic energy within the Thunder World caused him to frown slightly. Just as Lin Dong furrowed his brows, a silver light suddenly flashed past him. Finally, it transformed into a glowing figure. It was the Lightning Emperor. Lin Dong, when you see this message, it means that you have successfully gained control of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol. Congratulations. Haha, I really wish to see what your future holds, now that you own 2 great ancestral symbols. Unfortunately, I do not have any time left. Currently, I am about to completely disappear from this world. The energy of this Thunder World is also vanishing and this has made it unstable. Hence, I have sent the little girl out first. This is the Yuan Spirit Soul Scale that she left for you. You can use this to look for her once you leave. The Lightning Emperor's voice had only just sounded out when a blue light shot towards Lin Dong. After which, it turned into a blue scale that appeared in front of Lin Dong. Although you possess 2 great ancestral symbols, you are still quite weak. Remember not to expose yourself easily. Otherwise, there will definitely be Yimo hunting after you. It would be quite difficult for you to protect those 2 great ancestral symbols with your current strength. Haha, I shall not say anything more. Hopefully, you will be able to turn things around when the world faces another calamity in the future. I believe in the choice of the great symbol ancestor. Farewell. The image in front of Lin Dong slowly turned into spots of light and vanished. The former owner of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol, who was once renowned across the entire world, had completely disappeared. Lin Dong's expression was complicated as he stared at the scattering light spots. Immediately, he respectfully bowed at him, giving him the due respect that a younger generation member should pay to an elder. Elder Lightning Emperor, may you rest in peace. Lin Dong lifted his head a moment later. He controlled his emotions and once again glanced at this chaotic thunder world. With a wave of his sleeve, the space became distorted and his body also quickly disappeared. This thunder world was once again devoid of life after Lin Dong disappeared. Chaotic strength waited for its eventual destruction. Lightning Hall. There was no longer anyone here when Lin Dong returned to this place. Clearly, all the treasure seekers had left this place after the 2 months. I should look for Lingshan first. Lin Dong's body moved upon seeing this. He hurried out from the lightning hall and was about to exit when storm clouds suddenly gathered in the sky. Wild and violent thunder roars resounded over the place. Wind lightning trial? Lin Dong was immediately startled upon witnessing this familiar sight. Promptly, he broke into a smile. Given the improvements in his mental energy cultivation, there ought to have been a wind lightning trial. However, in that mysterious space, no wind lightning trial could appear. Now that he had left that place, the trial came looking for him immediately. Just how many wind lightning trials are stacked together? Lin Dong revealed a strange expression. He had leapt from the four-seal heaven symbol master directly to the peak of the initial divine symbol master. Just how many wind lightning trial would he have to experience? Lin Dong smiled and shook his head after he thought of this. However, he completely ignored the stacked wind lightning trials in the sky. His body moved as he directly rushed out of the lightning hall. Bang bang! Countless wild and violent thunderbolts came whistling downwards after Lin Dong rushed out. All of them came chasing after him. Get lost! Lin Dong paused before he suddenly turned around. Lightning glow flashed within his eyes before a cry was suddenly emitted from within his mouth. A strange scene immediately occurred after Lin Dong's cry escaped from his mouth. One could see that the thunderbolts, which were whistling downwards, suddenly froze before they flew back at a shocking speed. From the looks of it, it was as though they had witnessed an extremely terrifying creature. Various wind lightning trial wiggled through the sky. Finally, they strangely scattered in a bitter fashion. All of these so-called divine wrath thunderbolts were just like subordinates whom did not dare to show disrespect to Lin Dong, who was the owner of the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. Lin Dong looked at those disappearing storms cloud before he lifted the corner of his mouth. Perhaps, he was the only person in this world who could undergo the wind lightning trial in such a fashion. Lin Dong smiled as he thought of this. Following which, his body swiftly rushed forward. A moment later, he charged out of the lightning cave and resurfaced in the sky lightning sea region. His mind was suddenly jolted the moment he left the lightning cave. He clenched his fists as the Yuan Spirit Soul Scale, that Mu Lingshan had given him, began to shake. Soon after, a somewhat anxious voice was emitted from within it. Brother Lin Dong, do not come to the Sky Lightning Island outside of the Sky Lightning Sea region. The 9 Serene Gate, Mysterious Sky Hall and those 3 fellows from Yuan Gate are waiting for you there. I have been trapped by them. Moreover, they have even stronger reinforcements along the way. Do not come. The smile on Lin Dong's face slowly disappeared when he heard the clear voice emitted from within the scale. A cold and stern murderous expression replaced it instead. Are they all together? It's just as well. Saves me the trouble of looking for them. Lin Dong muttered to himself before his expression suddenly turned cold. After which, he moved and transformed into a green light, rushing towards the sky and swiftly heading towards the Sky Lightning Island. Murderous intent surged towards the clouds at this moment. This video will end here.